Hey there, and welcome to this month's installment of Ask Me Anything. Each month, we poll our readers to ask them questions on specific topics that they want to know about, and this month is using herbs medicinally. I'm Kristi, and I'm owner of Stone Family Farmstead, a blog where I teach people food preservation, gardening, and homestead organization at a beginning level. Shelle and Mindy, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
I'm Shelle. I have the website Rockin Homestead. I teach people how to garden in small spaces and then preserve the food that they've grown.
Hi, I'm Mindy from Our Inspired Roots, and I teach people how to homestead for better health.
Great. As I mentioned before, this month's topic is using herbs medicinally. And it should be said that none of us are medical professionals. We are all aspiring herbalists, all with varying herbal knowledge that we have acquired over the years. And we want to encourage you to always do your own research. Don't just lean on what we say or what any other one person says, but actually do research before you begin to use any herbs of any kind. We take using herbs seriously, and we want to make sure to give you safe information as we answer these questions. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, so our first question is mostly going to be answered by Kristi and Mindy. The question is, what are the best sources for purchasing medicinal herbs? What would you guys suggest? Kristi, what are your favorite places?
Well, my favorite place is Amazon because I get pretty much everything from Amazon. I'm a huge Prime user, and I've been using it for years, so it only just makes sense for me to get my herbs from Amazon. My favorite companies to buy from are Frontier Co-op and Star West Botanicals, but the downside of getting it there is sometimes with the lighter weight herbs, you get like these pillow-sized bags because you have to buy in 1 pound increments to buy from those companies. But I do that.
Mindy, what about you? What do you like?
I like those companies too. I also like Pronounced Skincare, which it doesn't have a huge selection of herbs, but you can get them in smaller, like 4-ounce bags and I think maybe 8-ounce bags. So when you just need a little bit, it's a really good place to get stuff, and they do have many of the basic herbs that most people use.
Good. Did one of you mention your local co-op, buying at your local co-op?
Oh, yeah,
if you have one.
Yeah, I sometimes will buy them locally, but like Kristi, I shop online a lot, so it's just easier sometimes to do that.
My favorite herb place is called San Francisco Herb Company, and they do have a $50 minimum order, but that got me thinking, like Kristi said, you can get a big bag of chamomile in a pound. They do have smaller, like half sizes, and you can pretty much get any kind of herb or spice there, medicinal or otherwise. And we just order things a couple times a year. We have a huge spice cabinet, and we really like that place. So you might try that out too.
I think Star West does. If you just go directly to their site, they'll have smaller increments as well.
Star West does.
Right. And there are a lot of others. So we got a few questions that were asking about specific conditions that maybe people have been diagnosed with or whatever. And again, I want to stress that we're not medical professionals. We're aspiring herbalists. And we want to give you guys, put information into your hands that will help you actually to be able to research these things on your own rather than having to just ask around, because that's not always the safest or best thing to do. So we got a question about which herbs we should be able to use during pregnancy. And while herbs have a really long history of safety when used as medicine, most herbal books will say to refrain from using most herbs in a medicinal fashion. So culinary is fine, but generally speaking, to use herbs as medicine internally during pregnancy is usually discouraged, just simply because of safety. Some herbalists have said, that you can go ahead and do your own research and choose, whatever you want to do. according to your own research, and you certainly can do that, but for our purposes here, we just want to go ahead and go with what most of the herbalists that we know say, and just say, you know, refrain from using them until you're finished with your pregnancy and breastfeeding, except in culinary amounts. In regards to using herbs for things like chronic pain and tinnitus and other issues that you might have, usually herbalists will tell you first, or will usually not go to herbs first as a first line of defense necessarily. Usually they'll talk about a lifestyle change like diet, exercise, other changes. Like for me, I've been raking my yard for about a month now, and this is really sore right here on my elbow. You know, maybe if I were to consult with an herbalist, they'd say, stop raking, you know, for a while, you know what I mean? Apply some heat, you know, and other things to do before they turn to herbs, you know, to suggesting any kind of herbs. There certainly are herbs that we can use, but the lifestyle changes are really what's going to take place first. So in order to err on the side of safety and proper information, we recommend that you would first make your lifestyle changes, and then if you don't see any improvement, then find an herbalist that you trust that actually practices on themselves and other people, and see what suggestions they have. If you don't know an herbalist, you can certainly look for books by good herbalists that practice, and if you'd like recommendations for those, we're going to have a free cheat sheet for you with authors, books, and courses, and resources that you can use for your further research, and that'll be available to you in the show notes. So it might feel like we're being a little bit evasive with our answers, but actually we have wanted to err on the side of safety, that instead of just saying, yeah, take this herb for that condition, that's not really the way that herbalism works. And so, you know, we want to let you know that it's really important to understand that it's not, that herbalism isn't about switching out a medication for a specific herb for a specific condition. Herbalism is about the whole body experience and healing, and herbs are nutritional, and they, you know, are best used to aid the whole body along with lifestyle changes and diet changes and things like that. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to see some improvement, and so there are differences in the way that medication, prescription and over-the-counter medication works versus herbs. And you know, we just want to point that out, as well as that the important takeaway is to always research any herb that you're going to use, especially if you are already on like some kind of over-the-counter or prescription medication, because there are interactions that can happen that can be dangerous to you. Now, generally speaking, they're not, but there are a few that really can be. And so, again, stressing the safety. So having said all of that, there are herbs that have specific affinities for certain systems of the body. And knowing that can help you find the right herb for whatever your condition is. In some herbal books, there are charts inside of the front or back of the book that will indicate the best herbs to use for specific body systems and structural tissues, and that can be helpful in deciding which herbs to use for specific types of pain or for specific issues. And some popular herbs, like for the example of pain, some herbs that can be researched for alleviating that are white willow bark, arnica montana, and cayenne. But what you're going to want to do to be able to narrow down which one would be proper for the kind of pain that you're having is that you want to research and see what those affinities are, or what, you know, where those specific herbs work best in the body. And that should be really helpful to you. Mindy, you're next.
Yeah, I want to second everything that Kristi said, because she's absolutely right about all of that. I just had a couple of things to add. So first, about pregnancy with herbs, all of what Kristi said is absolutely true. But if you go to a midwife or someone who has knowledge about herbs, they may prescribe you something because the benefit of it is more important than you know, whatever is going on with you that you need it for. So, for example, when I had preeclampsia with my first pregnancy, I was prescribed I can't even remember, a few different herbs to try to keep my blood pressure under control. So in those instances, you can use herbs. You just want to make sure you're getting the right information. You're getting it from someone who knows you specifically and can offer that that knowledge to you. The other thing is about how Kristi mentioned that herbalism really works as a whole body thing. And I just wanted to reinforce that and say, like, you can't out supplement or out herb a poor diet and lifestyle. If you're eating fast food all, every day, if you're not moving around, if you have super high stress, if you're not sleeping enough, herbs are not going to really help you very much. So you really have to work on those things first.
Yes.
Good points. Mindy, what's your next question?
Sure. Okay, so the next question is, my backyard faces a street. It isn't a major street, but it does have consistent traffic. I want to have an herb garden. Is it safe or should I do it inside? And this person lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. So with the research that I've come up with, it is possible to have a garden near the road if you, so there are a few things to consider. There's the toxins that come from the car and that are in the air and that can come over and land on your plant. Some people say that as long as you wash them off, they're fine. If you have a fence or some other kind of barrier, like trees or bushes or something, that can also reduce those toxins. But the thing that I'm more concerned about is the heavy metals that end up in the ground from road runoff. One study found that heavy metals are in plants that were produced within 10 meters of a road, which is about 32 feet. So that's a pretty big space. You would think, I thought before reading this, that 32 feet was plenty of space. So if you have like a drainage ditch near your road where the runoff goes in there and kind of, diverts away from your garden, maybe you're fine. I tend to feel like if you can avoid planting there, that would be the best option. In a perfect world, plant somewhere else, right? But if that's your only option, if you aren't able to grow things inside, then you would have to just decide for yourself if those risks are worth it. If you put things in place to divert the road runoff water away, if you have a physical barrier, you wash things really well, maybe for you it's gonna work. Maybe you think that having the vegetables grown in my yard is still better than getting GMO ones from the store. So in the perfect world, don't do it, but at the same time, if that's your only option, you may decide that it's better than nothing.
Shelle?
My question is someone who's growing hibiscus from seed, and I live in the South, and hibiscus is something very easy to grow here. Her question is, she has she's been doing it for a couple months now, and she has 6 plants growing. She's been following instructions that she found on the internet, and they're green and they're growing, but they don't have a lot of leaves, but they are getting taller. So it sounds like everything she's doing is perfect. She has a light on them, and she's repotted them into bigger pots, and she's given them fertilizer, and she's looking for some insight. And my insight is you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing with hibiscus. You've planted it the way it needs to be planted. One of the things to have seed success is to soak the seeds for 24 hours before you plant them. They're very thick, or you could scarcify them by rubbing them over sandpaper if you want to do it that way. I tend to just put them into water to soak and then plant them 1/4 of an inch deep. Let's do it 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost. They need heat to sprout, and their roots need about 80 degrees. So they need a lot of heat in order to be successful. You want to keep the soil damp, but not dripping. And it's going to take about 10 days for the seeds to germinate. Once they're sprouted, you'll remove the bottom heat, and then you want to give them additional light, all the things that our reader has done. So here's the things that you're probably worried about and you didn't know. That they slow grow until they can get enough heat from the outside. So you want to get them outside in your garden as soon as the soil warms so that they can start getting bigger and have more heat from the soil. They're going to get big, 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide. And they won't see any real growth as far as flowers going until July or August. So once it gets really warm outside, no matter where you live, you can grow them as an annual. Once it starts getting warm, you're going to see more growth because that's what they like. 45 to 100 days to maturity, so big window of when your maturity time is. And then the thing about the blooms is they need shorter days to produce. So they're going to grow all summer long, and then in the fall, as soon as the days start getting shorter, that triggers them to set a bunch of flowers and then set the pods that you want to harvest for eating. So you're doing great. Just wait until the fall, and then you're going to get that huge harvest that you're looking for.
Okay, great answer. This question's for all of us. Can you recommend a good book on medicinal herbs that tells what herbs to use for what ailments? And we do have a recommendation, all three of us.
We all have this book.
Yeah.
Good book.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic book. Go ahead.
Rosemary Gladstar. Everyone should know Rosemary.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that it's just super straightforward, easy to understand, and just like you don't have to know the botanical names or anything convoluted. It's just, you know, you can really just start using these herbs after reading this book.
Yeah, and she makes the recipes really easy, not scary. You could look at it and you think, I could do that. And that's, I think, the best thing about her is she's just really, she makes it seem like herbs are possible for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she really does. She also has another book called Herbs for Common Ailments, and I have mine on my Kindle, so I can't really show it to you, but it's called Herbs for Common Ailments, How to Make and Use Herbal Remedies for Home Health Care. And what's cool about that book is she actually has a chapter on how to build an herbal first aid kit. So that's, you know, could be really helpful and quick too. So. We also had a question about, for all of us, about how to recognize wild herbs and flowers. One of the readers was wanting to know how to do that, you know, recognize the herbs and flowers that they need that are in their area. And some she knows, or he, and some they don't know. So what are your guys' recommendations for that?
So first, I'd say you need to get a field guide for the area that you live, so that you'll know what the native plants are, what you can expect to see growing when you go out for walks or hikes. And that's probably the biggest thing. Be sure you've got a good book.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shelle. I typically will just go in on my walks, just pay attention to what's going, you know, what I'm seeing, and then kind of do the opposite of what you said is I'll see them first and then maybe go look them up after or take a picture and look it up. But yeah, whichever way works for you.
Yeah, and when we lived in Oregon, I lived in the woods and I had this wonderful field guide. And so I would study it and I'd say, okay, well, I should expect to see these kinds of things in the area I live. And then I'd go out and see if I could find them. And so you could do it either way. Yeah.
There's also Facebook groups. Sometimes you can find one that might be, you know, for people who forage in your area, but there are definitely some plant identification groups that if you take your photos, you can post there and they can help you find that out, what you're looking at. And the one thing that you want to do is just make sure that, you know, you get, you know, 2 to 3 really good helps to help you identify plants, because sometimes there are plants that are benign and edible and they'll have a look-alike that is actually very poisonous and very dangerous if you were to consume that. So, you know, we just want to encourage you to make sure that you know what you're foraging before you eat it or whatever, even if you're foraging out of your backyard.
Yeah, it's really a good idea to get someone who knows what they're talking about to help you. If you're like, I'm pretty sure that this is this thing, but could you just take a look at it? Or go on like a foraging trip with like a group, you know.
Yeah.
That's always really helpful to really have someone there with you to be like, yes, that's what it is. No, that's not what that is.
Yeah. They do have those apps you can put on your phone. I think I have one called Plant Snap or something like that.
Yeah.
You could try that too and see if you can find them that way.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah. So our next question is in regards to the 1 to 5 formula when making tinctures. So the question is, when I try making tinctures using the formula method with the dry powdered product, the 1 to 5 formula doesn't even hydrate the powder. How are we supposed to get a 1 to 5 liquid tincture? So yeah, this is a problem that sometimes people run into when they're trying to use like a standardized method of making tinctures. I don't do it that way, so I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I did try it with 3 different types of herbs that I'll share with you. But first, let's talk about what the 1 to 5 formula method is. So according to Thomas Easley's book, The Modern Herbal Dispensatory, this is where I'm getting my information, the 1 in the 1 to 5 formula represents how many ounces of the herb to use, and the 5 represents how much menstruum to use. And in the case of tinctures, you're going to use alcohol as the menstruum. So I believe that there are other measurements that you can use, but for the sake of ease, everybody understands ounces, so we'll just go ahead and go with that. So when I tried that, I experimented with 1 ounce each of turmeric powder, 1 ounce of lemon balm leaf, and 1 ounce of valerian root. And so I put them all in 3 different jars. I used pint jars at first, and then I added 5 ounces of vodka to each one. And so this is what happened. In the turmeric jar, the vodka covered it just fine, and I don't think that it was at this level when I first put it in. I think it was more like down here, but it covered it just fine, and so there's no problem with with doing 5 or a 1 to 5 formula with the powder. With the valerian root, the same thing happened. It was about the same. So it covered this, and it's going to tincture quite well with the 1 to 5 formula. Where I ran into the problem was when I did 1 ounce of lemon balm, which in a pint jar, it came up to about right here, where the other 2 came to about right here. So you can see where there's going to be a problem when you're using, that amount of menstruum with something so lightweight and fluffy as lemon balm leaf. So what I ended up having to do ultimately, because herbs also can expand, usually the leaves and the flowers tend to do that more than the roots do, and probably even the powder. But I'm not sure about the powder, but so many of the times that you use a lightweight herb, it will expand. So I had to change it over into a pint jar, and I ended up having to use 20 ounces of menstruum just to cover it. So that was what ended up happening with those things. So my suggestion to you would be the same suggestion that Rosemary Gladstar gives in this book again, and that would be to put your herbs in, like if you're using the powder or the root, you could totally just do the 1 to 5 just fine. But if you're using a fluffy herb, a lightweight herb, or something like this, you could fill up your jar, whatever size you're using, about 1/3 of the way, and cover it with your menstruum, with your alcohol of your choice by 2 to 3 inches, and you should be able to tincture it just fine that way. And that's called the Folk method. So the next question is Mindy's.
The question is, when planting an herb garden, are there any plants that shouldn't be near each other? So when we were talking about this before, we thought there's not really any reason that you can't put certain herbs together with other herbs for the same reasons that you would put some vegetables together or not together. It's more just what they need as far as water, soil requirements, and sunshine. So you might want to put your drought tolerant herbs like rosemary and oregano near each other where you don't have to water as much, and put like basil and parsley somewhere else where you can water it more and it's not going to cause any problem with the other herbs. Also consider the sun, like if some need more sun or less sun. But generally, I don't worry too much about it. I just plant them wherever there's a spot for them, and I really haven't had any problems with that. And herbs tend to do well interplanted with your other things in your vegetable garden, so I don't worry about it much.
Shelle, what's your next question?
This is a person who is saving their own herbs and does not have enough to use to make a tincture or anything. So they have a small harvest and they're going to have to save up for time. So they asked about how they should store those while they're waiting to have enough to be able to use it. So first of all, you want to harvest them and dry them properly so that they're completely dry. You could use a dehydrator. You could hang them to dry out of the sun. Usually I just used to tend to use my dehydrator. It's quick. You can put them in there and 2 or 3 hours later you have what you need dried. Then I just store them in canning jars with tight fitting lids. And then you want to store them just like you would anything in your pantry. They need to be in a cool, dark place, and they'll last for a year or more if you've just kept them out of the sun and out of the heat. Mindy suggested earlier when we were talking about this that you might want to put a silica packet in it to keep out some moisture, and that's certainly an option. If you have a lot and you've worked hard for it and you want to keep it, you could get some silica packets at Amazon and put those in there so that you wouldn't introduce moisture. I have a food saver with a vacuum jar, a sealer that you can put on top of those, and I'll often do that. If I know I'm not going to use it for a long time, I'll seal the jars so that so there's no air going in them. And then I have a cupboard that I keep all of my dried herbs in, and it's dark in there, and they just stay in there until I need to use them. And that's basically it.
Great. Okay, so the last question that we have is not about using herbs for people, but it's about using herbs for cats. So here's the question. I have between 10 to 12 stray feral cats that I take care of at the barn, and they have fleas. I would like to treat them naturally, but need an idea of how to do this by adding herbs to their food. I've tamed some of them, but there are a few I can't touch yet. So this is a tough question, and it's because when an animal has a huge pest load, that's usually indicative of an internal problem rather than an external problem. There are external factors like where they're sleeping. If that's infested, that needs to be dealt with. But for the most part, healthy animals are able to handle a reasonable pest load with no real danger of a major infestation. So when it becomes an infestation issue is when you know that there are underlying issues with the animal's health. So adding herbs to food won't necessarily eliminate the fleas themselves. And as a matter of fact, trying to feed herbs to a cat is really kind of hard. I've tried that, and they're really kind of weird about it. So what
It's
you
like
can
they can
do,
sense it almost, can't they?
yeah.
You're trying to sneak something in on them.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm sure that there are ways that you could do that, probably with like wet cat food or something like that. But what I would suggest is first to try to boost the cat's immune system. Now, in Dr. Kidd's Guide to Herbal Cat Care, he suggests trying that with echinacea, boosting the immune system with echinacea. And if you want to do that, you can dose them for either 3 weeks on and 1 week off, or 5 days on, 2 days off. He doesn't mention how much or what form to use or how to actually do that. So you would definitely have to do some research on what are safe dosages of echinacea for cats. But he does mention that improving the diet is a really good thing. So you might want to switch them off, you know, if you have them on the cheapest cat food or whatever, you know, you might want to, you know, clean the barn area, put them on a better diet. And then also you can add brewer's yeast to their diet. That's said to help. And for further research, if you want, you can go ahead and grab this book, the Dr. Kidd's Guide to Herbal Cat Care, or Herbs for Pets, and see what you can find out about that. But I would go with the making the lifestyle changes like we talked about before. You could do that with your animals as well. So does anybody have anything to add about that? Or anything more to add? Okay. Great. Okay, so that was our last question, and we want to remind you that we're going to have a cheat sheet for you with resources like courses and books and authors that we trust and that we read, so that you can further your research in herbalism. And we want to also let you know that you can connect with us, and all that stuff will be in the show notes. And we hope to see you again next month.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.